embed code from that YouTube video. And I got to keep the URL of that YouTube handy, because when you promote it, once a conference starts. Okay, let me shut up for a second. It's the most important part of the damn broadcast is getting this link in. Okay, there I go. Then I go to the, you know what I do now, right, Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I put the code on the website on the, in the place where you put the code, and it's ready to go. You know, and normally it's probably not good taste for you and me to be on the front page talking right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, well, we can just chat. I can just tell you what, yeah, right now, you know, once again, Facebook is kind of restricting me. You know, I wondered why things weren't happening. Like, you know, normally when you type in someone's name, it fills in, it autofills, right? I'm not getting autofill. When I view pages, they show me half the page.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've been doing a lot of things in Facebook and pushing the boundary, I think.
Right.
So anyways, I couldn't do much of that. I can't do much of that during this broadcast. But the thing I gotta do is you gotta do is you gotta get the URL of the YouTube. And that's easily accessible because I forget it all the time. The way you know how I find it?
No.
I go to the website. That's where the YouTube is. Okay, so I click on that, go into the YouTube, and there's the URL. Now that URL is good because once the broadcast starts, and I think, and I put that URL, it's automatically a screen. It opens up and it's kind of neat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that URL, you send it to, you know, the right people. So you cleaned up your office already this morning.
That's right. It's very clean.
You get up early to clean it.
Yeah. You believe that? I got a bridge I'd like to sell you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Hawaii's my brother's doesn't know what to do. I mean, yeah, he's well, everyone depends on the tourist business there in Hawaii. Everybody.
Right.
And
not opening up.
Yeah, it doesn't look. September is the latest word. So you know, it was earlier, but they pushed it back.
Yeah, I think Samoa is closed also.
What's that?
Samoa closed.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, Latin America is hitting pretty hard because you know you're going to run across people from all in these webcasts. People, you know, chat about what's it like, but apparently Nicaragua, Ecuador, countries like that are really getting hit hard. Was to talk to someone yesterday, and yeah, Nicaragua, all the beds are taken in the hospitals.
Wow.
Yeah, they're taken. So I don't know. I don't really look at the news that much. I don't really, but I don't recall hearing about South America being particularly bad. Although Mexico is hit pretty hard too.
But in the U.S., Texas is pretty crazy.
Texas, yeah, it's going. I guess it came up through whatever. I know Arizona too, right?
Is it?
I think I thought I heard that. I'm not sure. Okay. And you know, oh, I got to check on IPE's broadcast.
Yeah.
Because IPE's has a simultaneous one now that I took the code and put it on. Oh, let me share. I'll show you what I mean. I should put that on when we're waiting here. Okay, there it is. Just, I think they're on now. Waiting for it. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, let me show you how this was done.
Oh, this is the sharing one, like you did the other day, right? You share this.
Yeah, let me see here. Okay, yeah, I just have it on the, okay. It's webcast, but it's got the code in there already.
Yeah.
That's the code for the, let's see where it is. Well, no, it's waiting to start. Okay, but once it opens, you can click here and go into it. So it's supposed to start at 8, which is now, but you know, sometimes they're late, but so that would go on the front until 8:30, and then I'd switch over to this. But I don't know, maybe I'll just keep it on this one.
And this is not on Facebook, right?
No, but I put it on Facebook. I take the URL link of the YouTube and put it all over Facebook, and it opens up and it looks good. You know what I mean? When you put a video, it opens up and stuff.
Sure.
It looks good. I really feel like it's doing something, you know, with Facebook. I really feel it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in medicine, it's not all cerebral thinking and original thoughts. It's a lot of mundane tasks that you do, repetitive tasks over and over. Right. It's not so glamorous. It's a lot of work. A lot of physical work in orthopedics, man. You work, you use your hands, you build stuff, you cast all the time. Yeah. You use your hands. That's not really very cerebral. Just grunt work.
Right.
Okay, that's how 2 go on at the same time, but it looks like. But they had someone else do the Zoom. They had Malaysia. Malaysia came to them. And I put, it's 3 different speakers for cysternostomy. Okay. Juddy Parthaban, I guess he's a big advocate of cysternostomy, and Wang from Dr. Wang from China. He's done some few webcasts. So I would have liked to have seen that. Geez, though, I can't get over your office, man.
Yeah.
Mine's not clean at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If only.
I was up at 5 o'clock doing my laundry. I said, man.
If only my
That's one thing about being married. You get your laundry done.
Yeah. I know, that's true.
Well, I didn't realize how, you know, how easy I had it. You know, of course, when it stops,
when we used to meet, background, and then I met your wife a couple of times. She just said hello.
That's right. When I lived on,
yeah. That was you had a nice background behind you.
Oh yeah, the book. It was it was a nice.
It was a big house, yeah, big place.
Yeah, it was nice, nice apartment. But no, I like this just better because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 computers. The big. I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven, man.
That was your dream, and then you did it.
Yeah. It didn't matter. I don't think it matters what I have. I'll always want to be here. This is, well, probably like you. It's your home now. It's my home. It's my home. So, sink or swim, and it's something you know, we can do into our elder years.
Yeah.
Or muy elder years.
That's right.
Let's see here. Okay, Doug, I'm gonna do some last minute promotion here,
Okay.
posting. Okay,
Start
you
from-
can stay here, you can leave,
Yeah,
whatever.
starts in 20 minutes.
Pop in if you want.
Yeah, I'd like to see the start.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Then I'll go.
Okay, 8:30, we start on 8:30
Yeah,
on
I'll be here. I'll just hang here.
on the dot, okay?
All right, I'm here.
Okay, we start in 25 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, John.
You're admin, right?
Hello.
Hello in Nepal.
Hello, Professor Sharma. How are you?
Hello, Dr. Kuti. Fine, thank you.
Nice to see you here.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go.
Yeah. Professor Kajita is here. Professor Yasukasu Kajita. Sensei,
Yeah.
welcome.
Maybe he's the one. I have not seen him before.
No, he is the one who presented the topic on deep brain stimulation in Mumbai.
Okay. I may have missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good talk. In the month of June, last month, he
Oh,
presented
okay.
that topic.
Okay.
Hello, John. How are you?
Good. Just doing some last minute stuff.
Yeah, carry on, please.
Yeah, Facebook is punishing me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they do that now and then. Especially if you send a lot of,
Yeah.
posts. So you got to be careful. But sometimes I cross the line.
Okay. There are so many parallel presentations going on today.
We are all, we have another 15 minutes, Dr. Kuti.
Yeah, sure, we have.
No worry.
There is a Malaysian Society of Neurosurgery is broadcasting a webinar, it seems.
Oh, okay. So many going on. Many webinars going on. So
yeah. The WFNS Anatomy Committee is also broadcasting today.
Anatomy committee. Yeah. I think the emphasis has shifted to. I think it is good also to be in touch with the people. Yeah.
But they should adjust the timings because there is a lot of conflict between societies. But evening is a convenient time. Everybody will be back from hospital, so they start it early. It may.
That's true. That's very true.
So, how is Corona scare in Nepal, Professor?
Actually, it was going down. We were very happy, but for last couple of days, more spikes. So unpredictable this disease.
Yeah.
So unpredictable.
Problem.
And now Kathmandu, yes.
International travel is, I think, banned all throughout the world. It includes Nepal also, I think, isn't it?
Yes, they have banned. Probably 2020 will be deleted from our calendar. No travel for 2020. I'm just hoping 21 some ray of hope.
Yeah.
What else can we do? Yeah.
That's true. So do you operate these days? How is the operating?
We are actually doing half of our operation. So emergency is done, taking all precaution. For elective cases, after getting the PCR test, we are doing. We used to have 6 days of operation per week. Now it has been reduced to 2 days a week.
Right. This same for us also, but there are so many emergencies coming also.
Yes.
Because no other hospitals are actually taking the cases because of this care.
Yes, the government colleges are the ones to take the brunt. How about yourself?
Yeah, I just finished a craniopharyngioma today and just
it
just came 1 hour back.
Oh, okay.
So it's all emergency.
Yeah.
We cannot deny children also. It is very harsh on them.
Yes, that's very true.
There are 3 attendees who are there. Liu has come.
yeah, yeah, so many. We all, our national society does every Saturday at 4 to 5. We are 15 minutes behind you.
Okay.
No, ahead of you. Yeah. So our 6:15 is Indian 6. So
Right.
we
Right.
have our at 5 of 5. So Saturday, I usually become little late by 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
When we wrap up our national, then I come to
Who is the current president of Nissan?
Krishna Sharma.
Krishna.
Yeah, he was trained in Apollo actually, Chennai.
Oh, really?
Professor
I see.
Ganapati.
Yeah. I know.
You must have met him in the conference.
Mhm.
My tenure was over in September.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
City. And, we have 2 years of India, 1 year, I think.
Yeah, every year India has a
1 year
annual
of
conference.
and
But this time the office bearers have been extended for another year because of this. Election could not take place.
okay.
They have been
Double
given.
ANS did not extend. Double ANS did not, I thought.
Yeah. Double nest.
They handed over, I think, virtual.
Yeah.
So many things changed.
Yeah, John, are you there? You can let in some of the attendees who are waiting. Kajita Sensei.
Yeah,
How are you, Professor?
yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
So good to see you, Sensei.
Yeah.
Namaste, Dr. Kajita. Professor Kajita, namaste.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. I'll play a small video of our
Yeah.
So that was our
Very nice lineup.
yeah.
Even if it is to stand here.
I'm searching where it is gone. So these are the speakers for coming month, August speakers.
So 8. I think up to December it will go like this, in my opinion. At least
Yeah,
up to
I
December.
also think so. I hope many of your students will join.
I think we have 6 residents and 5 faculty. So hope if nobody is in the ward, they should come.
Yeah, that's good. The clash of webinars today,
Yeah.
the people
Yes.
maybe less, I think. Your video is
One Malaysian, one other. I saw in neurosurgery cocktail.
Right. So we will start in 10 minutes. Do you want to check? Do you want to have final check, Professor? Yeah, you can
Yes.
please open your PPT and
Yeah, sure. Let me share. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we can see that.
Very
Perfect.
good. I video channel. So it looks okay, no?
Yeah, it's looking fine. Perfect.
John doesn't want to display the slide beforehand, I thought.
No, this is just last minute check. We already checked your slides, but sometimes
Okay.
it may not play. So
Yes.
we do not want to take a chance. That's
Yes.
all.
Yes, I know. It's a little bit of. I'm so worried about the connection. We have a couple of backups, but still,
Yeah,
in the event it goes away, we'll reconnect in 2 to 3 minutes.
yeah, perfect. No problem. No problem. You may stop your screen share
Okay. Okay.
so that we can see you on screen. After the introduction, you may start, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. In the panelist, is he here? Right. Today, for the first time, we have the speaker and chair already there. Otherwise, we'll have to usually we send panic messages.
I have type A personality, Dr. Kuti.
Right.
I become very restless, if things don't happen on time. So I just sometimes I pay the price of being this compulsive, but yeah, it is how I have been.
Yes, sir. Qualities of perfectionist. I believe you are a perfectionist yourself.
Ajita is there, you are there, and John is there. So
yeah, we have 5 more minutes, I think. Recently, about statistics, I was just reading, and I saw that NEGM retracted 5 of their quality trials because of flawed statistics. So that came as a surprise to me because NEGM retracted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think big journal hired full-time statistician to check for those. Still, that must have escaped notice.
But recently, I've seen students turn away from statistics and research. It's very not very good for neurosurgery, actually.
True, very dysfunctional. Actually, one of the criticism of NASI's trial was also this. This statistical data was good and wrong statistical test was applied to get the p-value significant.
Okay, 5 minutes, everybody.
Yeah, John. Thank you. You can let in all this. Yeah, fine. Everybody's here. Hello, Liu. Liu is there?
Dr. Liu is here, I think.
Yeah, Liu is there. Hello, Liu.
Simon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to Simon, Jody, and Liam. he's a co-producer. So maybe he'll be doing this sometime. So
That's great.
he's a medical student in Chicago right now.
Oh, really? That's good.
May go into neurosurgery. So okay, so the speakers here knows how to screen share and all that
speaker
stuff.
and share,
Yeah.
everybody is fine.
Okay. And so are you in Nepal now, Doc?
Yeah. John, are you talking to me or?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are very much.
He is in Kathmandu.
Kathmandu. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the nice part of town there.
Kathmandu.
Where all the hotels are.
Tamil.
Yeah, that's a nice place to walk around.
It is. It is now almost deserted, you know.
Yeah,
Because-
well, you know, when I was there, that's where you got internet cafes. But the internet cafes were very good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, they had good connections. So, okay. There's Leo, you're there, right?
Yeah, Liu, hello. Hello, Liu.
Hello, John.
You may have
Hello,
stepped away.
Raja.
Yeah,
There you go.
I love Liu.
Hi, you.
Hello, Prof. Nice meeting you here.
It's
Nice
good.
meeting you.
Today you are with us. Liu is a very busy neurosurgeon. He has so many operations. We are glad to have Liu here today among us. Sachin,
You want to play your video there, Joe?
I already did.
Oh, you already did? Okay.
Yeah. Hello, Sachin. Welcome, Sachin.
Sir, thank you, sir.
It's so nice to see. Dr. Vinu V. Gopal is here. Hello, Vinu. Hello, Vinu.
Hello, Raja.
Yeah, hi, Vinu. How are you? Long time, man.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine. Going nice.
Yeah, so nice to see you here.
Yeah.
Keep your video on and interact with us. It would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Dog, you can just see what I do. That's all. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you just watch what I do, and I just basically go 10, 9, 8, 9, and I count down, and then he takes over. That's when I push the record button.
Mhm.
So you know it starts right with him, and not. So the emphasis is on the ACNS, not on neurosurgical TV. So, okay, 1 minute.
Yeah. Professor Sharma will go live in 1 minute.
Okay, all right. I'm all ready.
Are you in your clinic, Doc? Okay. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Hello and welcome, friends. Today we have a special talk on statistics for neurosurgeons. This is a very offbeat topic, but very, very, very important for every neurosurgeon who is involved in research. In this Sharma, who is a neurosurgery from the teaching hospital at University Nepal. We are so pleased to have you here, Professor Sharma.
Thank you very much.
We have none other than Professor for previous edition in the July, Professor Kajita.
Yes.
Kajita is from the University. On behalf of the Education Committee and Professor Yoko Kato, I welcome both the speakers. And Professor Sharma, you may please start your lecture now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are live.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Professor Yoko Kato, President of the ACNS, and Chair and members of the Educational Committee of the ACNS for giving me this opportunity to share with you all what I have been very passionate about recently. With the exponential rise in the number of research and publication over the recent decades, it is imperative for all of us to be well versed in the basics of medical statistics. Hence, I believe this topic will be of some relevance to the audience here. Okay, Nepal is a small country sandwiched between India and China. And on behalf of the deputy neurosurgeons and faculty and residents of the university hospital where I work, I extend warm greetings to all of you here. So with these few introductory slides, I'd like to go to the main presentation. I start with this quotation: the deepest sin against the human mind is to believe things without evidence. And the best way to get this evidence is by doing proper statistical test of the data you have. In line with this, many mainstream neurosurgery journals have also started publishing papers related to biostatistics, as exemplified by this publication in the Rare Journal. And they have started publishing 1 or 2 articles every 2 or 3 months. And the best way to get this evidence is by doing proper statistical test of the data. So this is the objective of my presentation. First is to inspire the young neurosurgeon to develop statistical thinking. And now next is the learning essential concepts of medical statistics needed for proposal writing, paper publication, and critically appraising the medical literature, which is so important these days. What I am not going to cover today is how to do statistical analysis. As clinicians, we are not supposed to do the statistical analysis, but we need to know how to interpret the result. How we define statistics. This is from the famous undergraduate book of epidemiology by J.M. Blas. It is the science and art of dealing with variation in data through collection, classification, analysis, and interpretation in such a way as to obtain reliable results. This is the definition of statistics. Medical statistics is nothing but the application of statistics in the field of medicine. Let's go to the fundamental principle of statistics. This is what we accept. We accept that there is a chance that we come to the wrong conclusion. Just like we schedule a patient, no matter how beautifully we do the surgery, we can never be certain that the patient will do 100%, will have a 100% positive outcome. Same thing applies in the principle of statistics. Let's go with few basic concepts of defining certain parameters. Population is defined as a group of people who share a common character or binding trait, usually a disease. This is what the target population
Professor Sharma, are you there?
Yes, yes. Hello? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Dr. Kuti, any problem?
No, no.
No, okay. So defining the population basically is a group of people who share a common character or a binding trait, usually the disease in the context of medical research. Doing research on the entire population is just not possible. So we take a sample, which is nothing but a representative part of that population. This picture will beautifully illustrate what target population is, what sampling frame is, what sample is. Target population is population of interest in which the researcher wants to do generalize the results of the study. For example, if I am interested about the cerebral aneurysm of the entire population is just not possible. So we take that what are relatively part of that population. Results of the study. So we take the sampling frame is the accessible part of the population from which is accessible to me, and from that sampling frame I will take a sample and I'll do the research. From the research, my intention would be to generalize this, the result of that sample back to the target population. Now let's go to data. I like to start with this statement: in God we trust, all others must bring data. If we have a very fantastic idea or some interesting conclusion we want to make, it has to be supported by data. Without data, it is very hard to convince other people to follow what you want to say. So this is the reason why we need to have a good quantity and quality of data in our hand before we can argue for something. These are 4 closely related terminology. I like to go through these one by one. Data is nothing but a set of values making the basis of reasoning or calculation. Information is data is defined as when the data has been analyzed in some fashion so that it becomes suitable for making decision once. So from data, it becomes information to make decision once. When we become knowledgeable is when there is understanding based on extensive experience dealing with information on a subject. Then ultimately we become wise when the practical application of a particular knowledge in those circumstances when good may result. I'd like to give the one example of climbing Mount Everest. With this Corona crisis, now our Mount Everest is deserted, but last year there was a traffic jam there. So if one fine day I have a sudden good idea of climbing the Mount Everest, I would go through these 4 processes. First data I would like to calculate would be the height of the Mount Everest. That will be the data. Then information will be that data plus other data I will collect regarding Everest climbing. I will become knowledgeable when I'll have the 1 and 2 plus an understanding based on the advice of the other experienced climber. Then ultimate successful climbing would be my wisdom. So same thing applies in statistics and in managing the patient on the day-to-day basis. Now let's go to the type and distribution of the data. Data can be discrete or data can be continuous. Because of the nature of my presentation today, it will be beyond the scope of my presentation to go into the details of types of data. Next important thing is how the data are distributed. This is the fundamental basics of statistics. They can be spread out more towards the left side, more towards the right side, or they can be all jumbled up, or it can follow a very smooth pattern where majority of the data will be in the center and half of the data will be spread on one side and half of the data will be on the other side, conforming to a shape called bell. So it is called a bell-shaped curve. This type of data distribution is called normally distributed data. And the fundamental principle here is we have to differentiate whether our data we collected is normally distributed or not. This is very important. There is one book published called Medical Statistics Made Easy. I have based majority of my slides from this book. They have described 8 core topics in statistics, starting from description of the data to analyzing clinical investigations and screening. I'll go briefly toss one by one these topics. So statistics which describe data will be like range, percentages, mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. Range and percent are very easy to define, but they are very commonly used in neurosurgical literature. So very commonly used, but it is worse in robustness. All it says is maximum value minus minimal value. If I am analyzing the patients with aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage, all I'll be saying was the youngest patient was 16-year-old, maybe oldest patient was 91-year-old. That's all the range says. About the percent, sometimes, if the number of sample is, data point is very small, researchers sometimes conceal the true value by saying the percent. if you have a total of 5 patients and 3 patients have done well, sometimes people might say 60% of my patients have done well. In those situations, you have to see the actual number to see whether there were enough number of patients operated or taken for research or not. This is the one caveat about when somebody describes in percent. Mean is very commonly used in mainstream journal. More than 2/3 of the mainstream journals and proposal have used mean, so it is very commonly used, and we should be knowing what it means. It is most useful when the data is normally distributed. Again, if the data is not normally distributed, mean is not used. It is nothing but the sum of all the values divided by number of values. But one bad thing about the mean is we have to be careful about the outlier. Just one data is extremely far spread, then it could skew the mean. In those situations, what they recommend is to use interquartile range. And another danger of using mean is this. Typically, the people make fun of statistician crossing a river. If the river has a variable depth of 1 feet, 2 feet, 5 feet, 8 feet, and if the statistician averages, takes the mean and tries to walk the river across, he might be drawn. So this is the disadvantage of mean. One has to be very careful while analyzing the data. Next important thing is median. Median is also fairly commonly used, like it is used in more than 1/3 of the mainstream papers. It is used to represent the average when the data is not symmetrical. It is one of the measures of central tendency, but if the data is not symmetrical, one is advised to use median. It is basically defined as a point in which half of the values are above and half of the value are below. For example, this is the distribution of the data. The curve is not obviously not symmetrically distributed, and you have a median, which means half of the value are on this side and half of the value are on this side. So this is the proper and correct use of median. Mode is not that frequently used in medical research. It is defined as the most frequently occurring event, and it is used to describe categorical variable. When this, yes, no answer, male or female, or etiology of some disease, in those kind of things, you can use mean, or sometimes it is used in neurosurgery or clinical literature when the disease occurrence is more frequent at certain particular age group. For example, in craniopharyngioma, there is a bimodal distribution. Once it is more frequent in adolescent, and another peak is in middle age. So this is the only use of mode in neurosurgical literature. Let's go to the slightly difficult part of statistics, the term standard deviation. It is also very commonly used. It is quoted in more than 50% of the mainstream papers. So we have to know what it means. And it is used as a basis of a number of statistical calculation. These are the two reasons why we should be knowing what standard deviation means. Again, standard deviation is used only when the data is normally distributed. If it is not normally distributed data, standard deviation is not used. It indicates how much the data is spread around the mean, how far they have gone around the mean value. If we say that if the age of the patient, mean age of the patient in my patient population is 50 years, standard deviation will show how far they have gone. Again, good news is here. It is not necessary for us as neurosurgeons to know how to calculate it, but it is a must for us to interpret what it means. Let's give an example of this beautiful curve. This is a perfectly symmetrical bell-shaped curve. Remember, in bell-shaped curve, all mean, median, and mode will be the same value. So this is the mean. So this is the standard deviation. The tail falls sharply and equally on each side. This is by customarily, one standard deviation will capture 68.3% of the data. If somebody says I'll use 2 standard deviation, then that will capture 95.5% of the data. If somebody uses 3 standard deviation, then that will capture almost 100%, 99.7% of the data. So in the results section, when we see we read the article, they would typically describe as mean age of the patient was this plus minus 1 standard deviation. Means they have included 68.3% of the data in that mean age. Let's get an example. Let's have an example here. A group of patients enrolling for a trial had a normal distribution of weight, normal distribution for weight. The mean weight was 80 kilogram. For this group, they have already calculated the standard deviation to be 5 gram. Let's interpret this data. So if they have given in bracket 1 standard deviation, if they don't write 1 or 2 or 3, it automatically means 1 standard deviation. They have included 68.3% of the participant will weigh between 75 to 85 kilogram, because you deduct 5 kilogram from 80 and you add 5 kilogram from to 80, it will range from 75 to 85 kilogram. Now, if somebody includes 2 standard deviation, they would include 95.5% of the participant, but the range will go up. See, now it will go from 70 to 90 kg. If somebody is very ambitious and wants to include 3 standard deviation, they will include 99.7% of the participant, but the range will be more. Now they have to decrease it, from 80 minus 1565, 80 plus 1595. This is exactly how the standard deviation is interpreted. Let's go to the research hypothesis. This is also very fundamental and most important part of any research. This is the bedrock of evidence-based medicine. Research hypothesis is a specific, clear, and testable proposition about the possible outcome of a scientific study. And it describes in concrete terms. Remember, when we use the term as hypothetical, it means in a vague term. But in terms of research, the hypothesis should be described in concrete terms, what you expect will happen in a certain circumstances. And all research hypotheses should be proposed at the beginning of the data collection, not when you already collect the data and then you put the research hypothesis. It is used in a clinical study to define the relationship between 2 variables. Usually one variable will be independent variable and one variable will be dependent variable. And the classical way of describing all hypotheses is we don't want to be committed beforehand. We all know that there is a difference between sun and moon, but in terms of stating a hypothesis, we say that there is no difference between sun and moon. That is called null hypothesis. There is no difference between the current treatment and the proposed new treatment. That will be the null hypothesis. And the alternate hypothesis written as S1 in bracket will be the hypothesis the researchers wants to prove, but they will not write it initially. And all the research hypotheses should always be preceded by a research question. This is actually the beginning of any research. You should have a research question in mind, then you formulate research hypothesis, and then you go into collecting data. Let's talk about these 2 very important terminologies used in statistics, which will test the confidence. One is confidence interval, another is p-value. Confidence interval is also very commonly used in literatures. More than 3/4 of the mainstream journals will use confidence interval in their original article result section. So we should be knowing it is nothing but a range or interval in which we can be fairly confident where the true value lies if we had access to the whole population. I would explain it in a slightly different way. If we had the access to the entire population, then the entire populations of true value will be there. So confidence interval basically says how confident are we that our result taken from that sample is close to the actual population if we had access to the actual population. This is what confidence interval is. Also, this is usually customarily put at 95% confidence level. So if some say confidence interval CI is this extends from this to this with 95% confidence level, it means that If you do the repeated research from that same population, you take multiple times, in 95% of the time, your value will truly represent the population value. This is what 95% confidence level means. Here is the catch. The size of the confidence interval is related to the sample size. If you have a large sample size, the researcher will be so confident that they will put a narrow confidence interval. If you have a smaller sample size, smaller studies, they will put a wide confidence interval because they will not be certain. Another term which is closely associated with confidence interval is the margin of error. As it's described in the previous couple of slides, there is a population where we are interested in to do the research, but we do not, it's impossible to do the research on the entire population. So what we do is we take a sample from that population and we do the research on this population and we come with the results. And what we do is we want to generalize the result of that sample back to the population. But during that process, invariably there will be some error during that process, which is called a margin of error. It is up to the researcher how much margin of error is acceptable. See, I presented in the previous slide that in statistics, we can never be 100% sure. We can always come to the wrong conclusion, but it is up to you how much margin of error, like you want to put 2%, you want to put 5%, it is up to the researcher with some solid reason. So margin of error is this. Let's go to the another most commonly used terminology called probability value. As shown in the 3-star, it is very commonly used. More than 80% of the paper use the term p-value. It gives the probability of any observed difference having happened by chance. Suppose if we have done a beautiful study, what is the actual chance of having that outcome because of your treatment, or it could have just happened by chance. We'll have few examples to describe this in detail. This is what p-value means. Again, good news is here. As neurosurgeon, it is not important for us to know how the p-value is derived. We need to know what that p-value means. So let's interpret the p-value. If p is 0.5, the probability of the difference having happened between two groups by chance is 0.5 in 1, 50-50, not good. In the modern medicine, anything which is 50-50 is just like tossing a coin. It is not acceptable, so it is not significant. So if somebody says p-value is less than 0.05, here is the explanation. The probability of the difference having happened by chance is 0.05. That means 0.05 in 1, or 1 in 20. So good enough. 99 out of 20%, the difference has happened because of your intervention. So this is just customary thing. Everybody, statistician, medical researcher, everybody decided that let's keep this p-value at 0.05 to be significant. So anything less than 0.05 is considered as significant, and anything above 0.05 is not considered significant. Let's go down to further. If somebody calculates the difference to p-value is less than 0.01, this could have happened 1 in 100 times. So it is called highly significant. Somebody calculates p-value as 0.001. The chances of that person being correct is 990 out of 1,000. So this is considered as a very highly significant. So if you have a big, larger sample size, your chances of having very highly significant outcome is higher compared to if you have a small sample size. Let's get with this example. There were 376 new patients in neurosurgery OPD who were randomly assigned to be seen by Dr. Jones and Dr. Smith. I have taken this example from the book I showed earlier. This is what the initial result was. Dr. Jones saw 200 patients. Dr. Smith saw 176 patients. And in terms of patient satisfaction, 93% of the patients were satisfied with Dr. Jones, and 95% of the patients were satisfied with Dr. Smith. But in terms of consultation time, Dr. Jones on the average takes 16 minutes to see one patient, and Dr. Smith finishes the patient in 6 minutes. And here is the standard deviation I just discussed. So this standard deviation is 3.1 here. It's 2.8 years, fairly close. So just looking at this, we cannot say which doctor is better. In terms of satisfaction, they seem to be okay, but in terms of seeing the patient fast, Dr. Smith sees the patient faster. But unless we do the statistical test, we cannot be sure. Let's apply the statistical test, and now we see the p-value. So in the first case, 0.144, and in the second, in terms of patient satisfaction, 0.001. Let's do the inner. So obviously, in this case, the patients who are seen by Dr. Smith are satisfied equally, but Dr. Smith sees patient much faster. So he will be liked by his director, hospital director, and his senior because he sees the patient fast with the same degree of patient satisfaction. There is another closely related term called statistical versus clinical significance. Okay, something comes very statistically significant, but whether that has some clinical value or not, we as clinicians should be careful about this. I will give one example. Somebody produced a very novel drug which reduces the blood pressure. Suppose somebody has a blood pressure of 180. This novel medication decrease the blood pressure by 5 millimeter of mercury, decrease it to 175 millimeter of mercury, and he put the did statistical test, and p-value was significant. But is it clinically significant? Obviously not. We want some medication which will decrease your blood pressure below to 140. So even if it is statistically significant, it may not be clinically significant to us. So sometimes, statisticians play with the data and come out with a p-value. This is what we say as don't torture the p-value. Even if it doesn't come out significant, it is okay. Still, we have done proper literature, and even if it is not significant, it will add certain amount of input to the existing body of literature. This is what torturing of the p-value is all about. Now let's go to the statistic which test the differences. Again, first, they are broadly divided into two groups. One is parametric, another is non-parametric. Parametric tests are used only in normally distributed data. So it is so important to differentiate your data at the outset. Parametric tests commonly used are the t-test, also called student's t-test, Fisher's zigzag test, and chi-square test. Non-parametric tests which are commonly used are Mann-Whitney U-test and Kruskal-Wallis test. It is impossible to go through all the tests, but I briefly touch a couple of these tests here. Let's describe student's t-test. There's a very interesting history about this test. This is important. It is quoted in more than 40% of the journals, so we need to know what this test means. This was devised by William Saley Gossett, who was working in a brewery company in England, in Scotland, Ireland, I think, in a Guinness brewery, and he devised the t-test as an economical way to monitor the quality of the beer. So the contribution of alcohol in the literature. And as per the policy of the brewery company, no employer was allowed to publish any article with their own name. So he used the pen name as student and published the paper, hence the name student. And only later his real name was revealed. This test again is applied only in normally distributed data, as I said earlier, and it is used to compare the means of two sets of data. You have two sets of data, you want to compare the means, and you want to see whether these two means are different or not. You apply the student's t-test beautifully. Let's get that same example we saw again. So this was the result, and we did this was the thing. First, we had the null hypothesis. There is no difference between Dr. Jones and Dr. Smith in terms of patient satisfaction and in terms of who sees the patient faster. Then we applied the t-test, and now we found that p-value is 0.4, and in terms of consultation time, p-value is 0.001. So conclusion in terms of satisfaction of this, it is likely that the null hypothesis is correct in terms of patient satisfaction. So there is no problem with Dr. Jones and Dr. Smith. But in terms of how fast somebody sees, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that Dr. zone 6 patient much significantly faster compared to Dr. Smith. This is the appropriate way of applying students' t-test. Let's go to the chi-square test. Again, it is used in more than 40% of the paper. We need to know this. It determines if two categorical variable. Here is the difference. In the t-test, you compare the two means from two sets of data, whereas in chi-square test, you determine if two categorical variables are related or not. And it basically makes the use of contingency table. The example will be the current example of, what is the actual risk of healthcare worker who are taking care of the COVID patient and risk of them catching COVID-19. You make disease and no disease, exposed and not exposed, and how many of them actually end up being getting the disease, and how many those not exposed also end up getting the disease, and you do the chi-square test and you come up with the value, and then you can say that, okay, working in the hospital is has a statistically significant higher risk of catching COVID compared to working in a bank or something. We can do those kind of research and apply chi-square test. Fisher's exact test was first described by Ronald Fisher, also a famous interesting experiment. This is used when the sample size is small. If you have a larger sample size, chi-square test is better. It started with the serendipity. There was a lady who said that putting a sugar milk before the tea is better compared to if you put milk before sugar. And he actually did this test that which tea is tastes better if you put sugar, if you put tea first, or you put milk first. And based on that interesting conversation with the lady, he came up with this test, which is called Fisher's exact test. This is typically used when more than 20% of the cells in the table have expected frequencies less than 5. And this is called exact test because it gives all the time, it gives exact p-value. It doesn't say less than this value, it gives exact p-value. That's why it is called test. Now let's go to the Mann-Whitney U test. It is fairly commonly used, but not as common as chi-square or student's t-test. It is a non-parametric test used to compare two sample means and calculate the p-value. This is the equivalent of the t-test of parametric data. So the use is exactly same, but if your data is non-parametric, we use Mann-Whitney test. It is used when the data is ordinal. For example, if you have this kind of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ordinal, like Glasgow outcome scale or modified Rankine scale, you use Mann-Whitney U test when the data is ordinal. Now let's go to the statistics which compare risk. The most of the time it is the risk ratio or relative risk or the odds ratio. The difference between risk ratio and odd ratio is this. Risk ratio or relative risk is used in cohort study, whereas odds ratio is used in case control study. I think for us, if we know this much, the majority of the time we can find out which type of test to be used. The statistics which analyze relationships are basically correlation and regression. Correlation and regression measure the strength of association between two variables. For example, what is the risk of negative outcome in patients with head injury? If we compare the age of the patient and the outcome, then with a progressively increasing age, the outcome, Glasgow outcome scale may be progressively on the negative side. So in those kind of situations, correlation and regression should be used. It could be either positive or negative correlation. And this is important, which thing you come out with. The correlation coefficient is the one that is used. Pearson correlation coefficient is used for normally distributed data, whereas Spearman correlation coefficient is used for non-normally distributed data. Now to analyze the last few slides, to analyze the survival analysis is nothing but the analysis of the elapsed time. The commonly used two methodologies are life tables and Kaplan-Meier plots and Cox regression model. Kaplan-Meier plot, I think everybody is very familiar with this plot. It basically says with one event, it shows the end point is how many patients are still alive at the end of some defined time. For example, this Kaplan-Meier survival plot was used for a cohort of patients who were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the end of 20 years, slightly less at the end of 20 years, slightly less than 40%, 36% of the patients were still alive. This is what the Kaplan-Meier plot gives. If you want to compare the survival between two groups of patients, you can still use the Kaplan-Meier curve. This curve was, again, the same rheumatoid arthritis patient, but they were comparing men and women. The women have the solid line, men have the dotted line. See, at the end of 10 years, at the end of 20 years, significantly more men die compared to female. So, but okay, we cannot say significant. It seems, I will say it seems like that, but we use a test which is called log rank test. And if the p-value, again, our beautiful p-value is less than 0.05, we can say with confidence that the survival between men and women is statistically different, and women survive longer. So statistics which analyze clinical investigation and screening are very important also. The terminology which are used here are sensitivity, specificity, and positive and negative predictive values. And then finally, you calculate the area under the receiver operative characteristics curve, and you come up with the conclusion that which test is how diagnostically accurate. And the one which is commonly going on for last 5-6 months is what is the accuracy of the RT-PCR, or what is the accuracy of the rapid diagnostic antibody test for COVID-19. And when we read the literature, the scientists have actually used the sensitivity, specificity, and all these predictive values when they come up with the conclusion that our test is 70% accurate, 80% accurate, or 90% accurate based on this thing. So to conclude my presentation, we have a data, we do the statistical analysis, and then we come up with the useful information in the medical field, and that we apply in the day-to-day care of our patients. And again, in the day-to-day care of our patient, again, we generate data. That data will be again statistically tested, again, more useful information will be gathered. And this cycle will repeat time and again for the better care of our patients. I'd like to conclude with this quotation from Dr. H.G. Wells a century back. Statistical thinking will one day be as necessary for efficient citizenship as the ability to read and write. Due to this corona crisis, our travel has come to an absolute standstill. Hope one day I will have the opportunity to welcome you all to my country, whether it is for the conference or for trekking. Thank you so much for your patient attention. Over to you, Dr. Kuti.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation, I must say. I would like invite Professor Kajita to say his comments first. Professor Kajita. Professor Kajita, you may please unmute your mic.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Please.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, Professor Kajita.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your excellent lecture. Yeah, statistics seem to be difficult, but you explained in a way that easy to understand. Yeah, statistics is very important to understand the data properly and successful research work. So actually, the young neurosurgeon is very busy for clinical work, but I believe that your lecture encourage the young neurosurgeons to have an academic mind and do research work. Yeah, thank you for your lecture once more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kajita. Liu, would you like to come in? Dr. Liu? Liu is my co-host. Please,
hello.
Liu. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, Prof. Shang, thank you for a nice presentation. Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion because recent years people was looking at the value of p value,
Yeah.
and another group of people are looking at the big data.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion with the relevance of doing RCT with the p value and also looking at the big data? Any comment?
Yeah, exactly. Very nice, very nice question. Yeah, if you have access to the big data, it is okay. But in the real-time clinical situation, access to the big data is really difficult. Access, like in terms of COVID, maybe we could get big data because there are more than 100,000, 200,000 per patient with the COVID. But if you want to do some research on head injury or subarachnoid hemorrhage or spinal cord injury, getting really big data will be difficult. In those situations, we need to get sufficient number of patients and apply the p-value. P-value is not a magic value. If the p-value doesn't come out, comes 0.06, it is hopeless. And if it comes out 0.04, it is celebration. No, it is not like that. It's so arbitrary thing. It just shows the trend. If your research says p-value borderline significant, that suggests that you have to go to a bigger sample size, or if you have an option to go to the big data. That's my opinion.
Right.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Liu, for asking. Thank you for clarification, Professor Sharma. Dr. Vinu V. Gopal is among us. Dr. Vinu is an associate professor in Government Medical College, Kottayam. He is very much into research. Yes, Dr.
Okay.
Vinu. Vinu, your mic is muted. Can you unmute your mic, Vinu?
Hello, good evening all.
Yeah, Vinu.
Thank you, sir, for the excellent presentation. You have touched upon the basics of statistics. One question to you. What is the feasibility of doing interventional studies in neurosurgery?
There actually, my answer will be yes also, my answer will be no also. The reason yes is if we do not do, who will? And especially in the low and middle income, we should be the one doing it. And it is possible with some constraint, especially multi-centric we can do, because one center alone will not be able to generate enough number of patients to have a properly randomized trial. If we do multi-centric, we can. The catch is to conduct a properly randomized interventional study is very expensive. You have to have a data management board. You have to have a, all these, things to be fulfilled before you can conduct a study. But in a smaller scale, still we can do it with not much harm to the patient. Still we can do it.
Sir, in Nepal, how is that? What is the procedure behind randomized control trials?
Yeah, the way we do is the researcher who wants to do the randomized control trial should have a certificate of good clinical practice. The person must have passed that test. Then it should be approved by the National and Nepal Health Research Council Ethical Committee, Ethical Review Board. That goes through our institutional review board. And then once they approve, you can start recruiting the patient. But in the event of some bad outcome, they have to report that bad outcome to the data board in the Central Nepal Health Research Council. It can be fairly done in a smaller scale, though.
Right.
In India, it is very difficult. That's why I asked you.
Why is it so difficult there? My ignorance.
Even right from the institutional review board, you will be having so many obstacles that you can't go forward. And ultimately, after getting trial registration and all, I tried 2 or 3 studies, but I was not able to go forward. That's it.
Okay. Like the transuranic acid we tried, initially, not in neurosurgery, but as part of the general surgery were there. So in one group you will use transuranic acid, another group you use the standard of care, and then see, we did that initially. The data, we could not recruit enough patients, so the trial was aborted in the middle, but initiation was there. initially we had problem with trial registration. Now we have overcome that also right now. But we should push it, Dr. Vinu. We should push it.
Yeah. We should have a good backup also from the institution.
Yes, we need to have a good backup, and both your seniors and juniors should support. Otherwise, only one person interested, it doesn't go forward. That's the
Yes. Yes.
And that is very
Thank
true.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Vinu, for your comments. As you say, drug trials are always very difficult to come through, especially in India, because of the side effects and also because if the insurance claims that come along with it. Most of these trials are insured beforehand.
Yeah.
So because of that reason, the Institutional Review Board is a bit skeptical about drug trials. I myself was going to start a trial after, as you said, I just reminded of my tranexamic acid in chronic septal hematoma. I wanted to do a case control study test, but they said you first do a case series analysis and then you may go ahead with this. So in 2017, I started my study of tranexamic acid in chronic septal hematoma. So far we have recruited and finished, and it's out for publication in next 2 or 3 months. It has been accepted in Journal of Stroke and Cerebrovascular Disease. It's currently the largest series in the world after Hiroshi Kageyama published it in way back in 2012, I think. It was from Japan. So drug trials are always very difficult.
Yes, drug trials are the worst in terms of getting things through. Actually, one of our resident, the second resident, is currently working in Maldives. That trial was use of drain after drainage of chronic subdural hematoma. So one group we used drain, and one group we did not use drain post-operative. That was back in 2013-14. So it was a miniature form of actual trial.
Right.
So and the outcome was drain was not useful.
Okay. But everybody is skeptical. Everybody wants to put the drain for safety reasons.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Right. What is the procedure? How is it in Japan, Professor Kajita? Professor Kajita, how difficult is it to start a trial in Japan? You are muted, Professor Kajita. Can you please unmute yourselves? Professor Kajita? Can you unmute yourselves? Your mic is muted.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So, please, once more.
Can you please tell us how difficult is it to start a clinical trial in Japan? The procedure-wise, trial to do a study.
Yeah. Actually, the same situation in Japan. Yeah, usually young neurosurgeons do not have time to educate, run the statistics, but the statistics is very important. Therefore, usually we ask some basic researcher to the statistics for the data analysis.
Perfect. Right. We have Dr. Binoy Damodar with us. Dr. Binoy, are you there? Dr. Binoy? Dr. Binoy is seen on the screen. Well, in the meanwhile, we'll ask for Professor Takashi Maruyama. Professor Maruyama, are you there? Professor Takashi Maruyama. Hello, Professor. Yeah, he's busy. Sachin, can you come in, Sachin? Dr. Sachin? Sachin is also not.
You're not having good luck today.
Yeah, I see that because this is a very rare topic and very important. Most people, neurosurgeons usually shy away from this complicated topic. Professor Sharma has tried his best to make it more palatable. Yeah, who is this? Anybody would like to ask any questions? The Platform is open for discussions. Would anybody like to come in and comment or ask questions to Professor Sharma?
Oh, it's a rough crowd.
Yeah. Never mind. I think it was a very informative talk, and I think we will wind up the session now. Professor Sharma, you have given an excellent talk, and I'll have to go back and rewind and see, and too much information to get into my small mind. So I have to relax, rewind, and see what actually the different studies and the relevance of each test you mentioned. It was very informative. Thank you very much for that. Professor Kajita, thank you so much for coming here and chairing this session. On behalf of the ACNS Education Committee and Professor Yoko Kato, I thank both the speaker and the chair for this excellent presentation. So this was the last talk of the July. With this, we come to the end of the July edition of our ACNS webinars. For the next month onwards, we have a very good speakers lined up. I had shown the introduction video of the month of August. It is there on our Facebook page as well. So until next Saturday, the 1st of August, we have Professor Jingsen Wu, who is going to talk about awake surgery for gliomas. I welcome you all to the August edition of the ACNS webinars. So until then, it is bye-bye from all of us. Thank you very much, all the audience. Thank you very much, speaker and the chair. Thank you, Liu, my co-host, who took his time to come over here. Thank you, John Bennett, for televising this. Thank you, Simon, for coming in. So then it's all bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
well, very good. Wrapped up. Very good.